We did the online meetings for a while via Zoom. That was actually working out fairly well. A lot of our members are older. And so we have members that are in their 90s and quite a few that are retirement age and above. That created two challenges for us. One is that because of the pandemic, these are actually the most vulnerable populations. But also as you get older and the 80s and 90s, those members, not only they're vulnerable, but they're less likely also to adopt Zoom. And I think everyone across the board, whether you were 30 or 90, you're just getting tired of all the Zoom meetings. We started to go in person with the county. It's very gracious, the Fort Bend County at the Gus George Law Enforcement Academy. Before the pandemic, we would have probably 25 to 30 people, but during the pandemic, our meetings were usually between 9 and 15 people. And then we were in a room that was probably set up for about 50 people. So we just spread out, we wore masks. We changed our speakers to only be local speakers so that no one had to travel from Austin or even from, the Woodlands or any of those places just to try to limit the exposure. So we had people that were local. This month, actually April, is our first month to have what I consider a quote unquote normal meeting. So we have the curator from the Houston Museum of Natural Science coming to speak about their Pompeii exhibit. From here on out, our meetings will look a lot more like they looked in 2019 than they did in 2020. The digs, we've been actively digging throughout the whole time, but we have not been inviting people because it's been sort of, if you will, we created our little bubble. So it was like 4 or 5 people who work together every week. And all of those, except for 2 were retired. And so, if you will, that was sort of a bubble. And so we didn't have masks, but we also didn't want to invite people, from the general public. Those are starting to open back up. And for anyone who comes to our meetings, they can get included into the what we call the dig list. And that's the email distribution that goes out. And that's starting to normalize as we speak. Archaeology is really hard work. So a lot of people see the artifacts in a museum and they've been cleaned, they've been curated, the research has been done so we can connect them to other pictures or other parts of the story. And that's kind of the exciting point. The actual digging 1 inch at a time, more or less, or a couple inches at a time, and sifting all that dirt to find those artifacts or to meticulously work around the artifacts that are in the ground. It takes sort of a special type of person. It's definitely a different skill set. What ends up happening is some people try it, they fall in love with it, and they stick with it, and they're out there every week. Other people try it for 2 or 3 weeks and realize, this is a lot of work, and that's not really their thing. We're following safeguards that are being recommended by the CDC and required by the county, but our meetings are going to start to be back to normal, if you will. They're going to be really good speakers, worth coming out. I think it's a good way. And our meetings have never been so crowded that, you couldn't get all the space that you desired. So I really hope people start to come back out.